So as you know, it's Sunday, so it's time to go in, update my high yield ETF spreadsheet. I'm going to enter in those distributions and then find out what my real price per share currently is. Am I red on more of those, or are they starting to turn green? Or is it looking about the same? So let's go in and update that and find out where I currently sit. Hello, my friends, this is Legend. So, Yieldmax announced those distributions for Group 1 and Group 2, and those payouts for last week, I'm going to enter those in to my high yield ETF spreadsheet, find out what my new real price per share is, and just see, am I still in the green, or has the drop on Bitcoin really brought that portfolio down? So let's just go ahead and let's jump right over into that spreadsheet. And here we are. And we're currently looking at that summary page for the high yield ETF spreadsheet. And of course, this spreadsheet is available to all my Discord members. And if you are not a member and you'd like to get a copy of this, please come on over, join the Discord, where you can get your copy so that you can track your own high yield ETF adjusted price per share to find out if you're currently up in the play or are you down in the play. So if you enjoy this type of content, please make sure hit that like button, as it does help me out. Now, as you can see, this is the summary page before I go in to enter in all those distributions that we will get paid for this past week. And just looking at that summary page, you can see I am still down on CONY, I'm still down on ULTY, I'm still down on WDTE, and that's it. Wow. Okay. So I am only down 3 positions now, and I have not entered in those distributions yet. But I'll tell you, Bitcoin has not really helped us out much. But as you can see, even though Bitcoin has been falling, I'm still green on most of my plays. And it's because how I have been purchasing these positions. And I do not purchase shares unless the market price is under my real price per share. So out of all of these, the ones that I would be in line or I could purchase and it would help me to lower that real price per share would be CONY, ULTY, and WDTE, because those are the only ones that are red. The rest are green. And since they're green, that means that if I did purchase more shares of those ETFs, that would raise this number. It would then move it closer to that market price. And I don't want to do that. I want to continually to always average it down, okay? I want to move this price down all the time, because when we have pullbacks like this, when Bitcoin is just not behaving well and these ETFs drop, I don't want my whole portfolio here to all of a sudden, all of them be in the red. Now, it does not mean that they're all in green, right? You can see I am currently down on 3 of these positions, and I have a total of 15 positions, okay? So out of those 15, I am down 3 positions. And in my opinion, that's because I do not average these positions up in my adjusted price per share average. So therefore, I do not buy if that market price right here, like on NVDY being $14.13, and my real price per share being $11.64. I'm not going to purchase more shares at that price, because if I do buy shares at that $14 range, then it's going to raise this $11.64 up, and it could be something like $12, right? But I don't want to do that, because that is moving it closer to that market price. And if that market price then continues to drop, eventually it too could be red. And I'm not saying that with my method that it won't be red, but I at least have the best shot to keeping it green by not purchasing if it's going to raise my real price per share. And that's what's neat about my spreadsheet here, because it's easily to look at this and see that I definitely do not want to buy anything that has a green cell, right? Because that's going to raise that number, and I don't want to do that. But I could buy the ones that have red cells here, like CONY, ULTY, and WDTE. I could buy those. But with Bitcoin just not behaving well and not knowing if that Bitcoin is going to continue to fall, I am just holding off on those purchases because I would rather be able to buy it if Bitcoin is going to lower on down. But if we start seeing where it's bottoming out and maybe starting to move up, then maybe I start buying more of WDTE, ULTY, and CONY to help lower this real price per share so that whenever that market price starts moving back up, it's got less distance to go before reaching my real price per share. And that's the overall idea of what I'm doing here. So let's just go ahead and get those distributions entered in and find out what that's going to move my total amount of gain up here to. As you can see, it's currently at $11,976. If I were to sell all 15 of these positions at that market price, I would make $11,976. So as you can see, even though I have 3 of these in the red, the ones that are green make up that difference and then some, right? Because I'm going to clear just under $12,000. Of course, that is before I enter in my distributions, which will help to lower that real price per share, which is going to increase that gain. So let's just go ahead and start right off with CONY. And to get to the individual sheets with my spreadsheet here, it's easily done from the summary page. You can just hover right over whichever ticker that you want to go to. In my case, I want to take it to CONY. So it pops up the little link there. I click it and we go straight to CONY. And right there, you're able to enter in the distributions. You're able to enter in any purchases you make. It does all the calculations for you. And it will also update that summary page so that you can get everything updated quick and easy. And having that summary page is also a very quick 30-second view to see which ones you need to focus on. So as you can see on CONY, we earned 29 cents and I have a total of 175 shares. So I can enter in that 175 for the number of shares right there. And that's going to adjust this real price per share from $42.37 down to $42.07. So it is coming down, but of course with CONY coming on down, I'm still in the red, right? I'm still in the red. But in my opinion, I'm doing about all I can do to try to keep bringing this down so that when Bitcoin levels off, I believe that's going to help CONY level off and then hopefully start to move back up. And at that point, it'll have hopefully less distance to run before getting back up to my real price per share. But again, none of this is guaranteed. So with a real price per share of $42.07, if I were to sell all my shares of CONY at that current price of $27.53, I will take a loss of $2,545. Now that is my loss, right? Not $9,472 that I have invested into it, right? Because I have earned those distributions and I would get that share price of that sell if I were to sell all those shares. So therefore the difference is this negative $2,500, and that's what I stand to lose at the current moment if I were to sell all my shares. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold out and I'm going to ride it on out. So let's just move right on to the next one. And we have PLTY. Now PLTY, we actually got this one paid off, right? As you can see, it's a minus 20. And right here it says paid off. Congratulations, right? So this one is paid off because the amount that I had invested was $22.44. The amount of distributions I've earned is $22.52. So I've earned more back in distributions than I have invested. Therefore, the 37 shares that I do own is paid for and I'm getting paid just for holding those shares that cost me nothing. And that's a great feeling, especially when we earned 38 cents for the distribution, and I can enter in those 37 shares right into this column, and that's going to adjust that real price per share from a minus 20 cents to a minus 59 cents. So now you can see right up here, it's also calculating this dollar amount, saying $21.83 is how much I am in the good past the amount that I had invested. So as long as I would not exceed $21.83, then I can keep this one in the paid off status. But since the share price is $38 for PLTY, it is showing a 0 right here on the estimated number of shares because I only have $21.83. And if the share price is $38, I cannot get a whole share. I could get fractional shares, but I could not purchase a whole share. So therefore, the estimated number of shares I can purchase with the amount available to still keep it in the paid off status is 0 shares at the current moment. But that's okay because I have this one paid off and it is currently at a minus 59 cents per share, which is the amount above what I actually had invested. What a great feeling. And that is my goal for all of these. And I will say, most of these are going to take some time, right? They're going to take a while. And I'm not even guaranteed that I'm going to get to that paid off status, but I sure am going to try. Moving on to NVDY. NVDY, we earned 9 cents. I have a total of 71 shares. Therefore, my real price per share of $11.64 now becomes $11.55. With the current price of $14.13, which is above my real price per share, means that if I were to sell all my shares, I would gain $183. So currently, even if I were to sell all those shares, I will make money on NVDY, even though it has come down, right? It has come down. But since I continue to bring down my real price per share, I'm able to try to stay ahead on these down days, on these down weeks, or even down months, right? Because you don't know how long it's going to be down, but I'm hopeful that it's going to level off and eventually start moving up a little. And that's all I need so I can continually to bring down that real price per share, even if the NVDY price is going sideways or moving up. I will continually to bring down that real price per share, which will increase that gap between my real price and that current price. And that just gives me even more buffer if there happens to be another pullback. And that's how I'm playing these high yield ETFs. And next we've got ULTY. In ULTY, we earned 43 cents. I have 56 shares. So my real price per share of $36.10 now becomes $35.67. Well, with the current price of $35.05, I am just barely over. Therefore, if I were to sell all my shares at that current price of ULTY, I will lose 34 bucks. So now if ULTY can get back up above that 35.67, ULTY will change from red to green on my summary page. And that sure would be a nice welcoming thing to see. For MSTY, this one has been paid off for a little while. I'm at a minus $7.36. I have a total of 95 shares, and therefore that minus 736 will now become minus 772. So as you can see, for this one, I have a total of $733.60 that I could have available and keep this one in the paid off status, just shown on this worksheet. And that would be an estimated number of shares of about 31 shares that I could buy with this 733 bucks. But I'm just letting it pay me weekly, as that's just free money coming back into my pocket. For SMCY, we got 12 cents. I have a total of 300 shares of SMCY. So my real price per share of $7.81 now becomes $7.69. And since the current price being $7.98, I'm in the good on this one still. And if I were to sell all those shares, I'll make about $87. Now, at an average distribution rate of about 11 cents means that it will take me roughly 70 distributions to get this one paid off. So since this does pay weekly, that would mean it's a little over a year to get this one paid off. So like I said, it does take some time, but eventually when it is paid off, then that money that is coming in weekly is just free money coming into my account. And I would have none of my capital invested into SMCY. It would all have been paid back to me from Yieldmax. And we have AMDY. And for AMDY, I have 164 shares at a 27-cent distribution, means that that real price per share of $29.26 now is $28.98. The current price of $31.11 means if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I would make $350. For YMAX, we earned 7 cents. I have 758 shares, and that real price per share being $7.21. And then after that distribution, that real price per share will be $7.13. And since that is under the current price, I am still in the green on this one. And if I were to sell all 758 shares, I will make $1,020. But I'm not selling the shares. I'm just sitting here letting it continue to pay me. And eventually, this one too will get paid off. At least that's my goal. And then all of the money coming in will just be free and clear and fresh powder coming into my account to do with whatever I want to do. For WDTE, we earned 33 cents. I have 116 shares, and that real price per share of $44.97 now becomes $44.64. Now, WDTE, of course, has dropped a bit, right? It's at a current price of $30.78. And again, it has a lot to do with Bitcoin, in my opinion, because as it's been dropping, HOOD or Robinhood has been dropping, and since it drops, WDTE drops. So therefore, if I were to sell all 116 shares, I will take a loss of $1,607. For QDTE, we earned 27 cents this week. That's a nice distribution, right? And I have 155 shares. So therefore, that real price per share of $22.50 now becomes $22.23. With that current price of $29.78 means if I were to sell all my shares at that current price, I will make $1,170. Very nice. For IWMY, we earned 11 cents and I have 551 shares. Therefore, my real price per share of $15.42 now becomes $15.30. That current price is $19.95. Therefore, if I were to sell all 551 shares, I will make $2,559. And that's some good money, right? Now, I'm not selling the shares like I've said on all of these. I am not selling them. But if I did, I could get out of this and I would make $2,500 off of IWMY. So as long as I'm still in the good, I'm riding this out. And QQQY, we earned 12 cents and I have 551 shares. Therefore, that real price per share of $19.85 now becomes $19.72. Current price of QQQY is $22.28. So if I were to sell all those shares, I would make $1,410. So as we go through these, you can see I'm actually making more in the end than I'm actually losing on those three. WDTE, we earned 17 cents and I have 540 shares. Therefore, that real price per share of $25.96 now becomes $25.79. And if I were to sell all my shares at the current price of $30.75, I would make $2,679. Very nice. For JEPQ, this is a monthly payer, so therefore we do not have a distribution to enter for this one. So my real price per share of $10.19 still stands. So if I were to sell all 55 of my shares here for JEPQ, I would make $2,637. Nice. Last but not least, we have Divo. And Divo, I only have 12 shares, and this one too is a monthly payer. So therefore, I do not have a distribution this week. So my $42.12 for my real price per share still stands. And therefore, if I were to sell all 12 of my Divo shares at the current price of $46.92, I would make $21.63. So as you can see, all the numbers are right here for you. And all these numbers are being transferred right over to that summary page. And it's easy to get right back to that summary page from these individual sheets simply by just hovering right over this back to summary and clicking that link, and it takes you right back to that summary page. And you can see we were just under 12,000, and now this week we're at $12,559. So we did get a little bit of extra money coming in off of those distributions, which does help us. Now, of course, we're still down on those same three: CONY, ULTY, and WDTE. The rest of them are still green. Now, notice that ULTY, we are pretty close to getting this one to turn green. I'm waiting for it to trade sideways and then move up so that I can continue to move my real price per share down, so that when ULTY does move back down at that point, I can still be green because I am continually to move it down on my real price per share. So that's, again, how I play these high yield ETFs. I play it a little bit more on the defensive side than the offense because these have a tendency to move down in price. So I need my real price per share to always move down so that I've got the best chance to stay ahead of that market price for each of these high yield ETFs. So as you can see, this $12,559 right here at the top, that is the amount that I would make if I were to sell all of these open ETFs at that current market price. And that would be the market price of the closing price of Friday, because this is the weekend. So that is the price of the Friday close. And that would produce me a total of $12,559 in the good. That is the amount above the amounts that I have invested. So all of my money back plus making $12,559. Not too bad, right? Considering we've been having a bit of a rough time with Bitcoin. It's still nice to see that I am still able to make money, even though Bitcoin has not been our friend lately. Because right here, we are looking at Bitcoin on the chart, and you can see we used to be up around 126, and now we're sitting at 67, but we did get down to about 60K right here. So, like I said, Bitcoin has not been helping us out a whole lot, but I sure am hoping that it does find a bottom around this 60, and then we can start moving this Bitcoin right on back up. Because if we can, I think we're going to see our high yield ETFs start to recover a little bit. But by me always working to lower this real price per share means that I am always working on the defensive side so that when it does move up, I can continually to lower it and increase that buffer I have for protection on the downside. So again, if you would like to get a copy of this spreadsheet, please come on over, join the Discord. You can get a copy of this sheet where you'll be able to enter in the ETFs that you own, right? Not just my ETFs, right? You don't care about my ETFs. This would be your ETFs, the number of shares you would have, and it would calculate what your real price per share is. and it gives you a very good idea of where you currently sit in each of your high yield ETF positions. Because unless you know that, you don't really know where you currently sit. So that link to my Discord will be down in the descriptions and in the pinned comments below. So come on over, we'd love to have you. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button, as it would be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.